And now it's time for RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester.
Hey, everybody. Ken Chester behind the scenes, RoadWorthy Drive. In studio, as always, with the usual suspects, Jack at the controls.
Hello.
Sasha holding down mic 2 and being feisty as usual.
What?
And yours truly. In this hour, another rummaging around in the parts bin. And we're going to talk about electric vehicles. But we're going to take a different approach this time. We're going to talk about infrastructure history and the electrical grid. We're going to talk about raw materials, why a particular mine in Chile may hold the key to your next electric car. And then finally, Jack's favorite subject, cybersecurity, privacy, and you. All here, all this hour, you get it all from the three of us. Help you. You're going to need it. From the RoadWorthy Drive team, thank you for joining us for RoadWorthy Drive behind the scenes. Jack, 11 minutes. Sasha, do you have your phone set?
What?
11 minutes, Sasha. I know. I'm
just waiting on everybody to say their phones are set.
My phone is set. I'm ready.
You're waiting on me.
Yep.
As the song says, waiting on a woman. Okay, go.
Got
Okay,
it.
Jack,
Here
let's
we
do it.
I tell you wanna go faster, yeah.
It's time for RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester. Ken is a nationally syndicated automotive journalist and photographer who has been in and around the industry for over 30 years. So tune in for your fill of automotive information and entertainment with your automotive ringmaster, Ken Chester.
You're listening to RoadWorthy Drive. Thank you for dropping in. I'm your host, Ken Chester. Now, this hour I've set aside to bring you up to date on a whole variety of electric car news. This is different than the autonomous vehicle features that we often talk about here on the show. There are plenty of things going on in the space that most likely will impact you long before the move to self-driving cars in the coming years. I will share with you what you need to know. I will also clarify the differences between a connected, electric, and an autonomous vehicle, because a lot of times people are using these, I wouldn't say interchangeably, but the definitions tend to get easily blurred, and I'm going to set that straight. I am sure we will get to everything I want to share with you during this hour, but I'm going to give it the old college try, because you never know. We get caught up. I'm pretty sure we're going to get to all of it, but we'll try. We'll see what happens. Yeah, really. Oh, my. As usual, we will rummage together for automotive news from the parts bin, covering the bits and pieces of breaking news I want to share with you. But first, as always, I want to introduce you to the other members of the RoadWorthy Drive crew that keeps this program on an even keel week after week, even in spite of themselves. That would be Jack, my friend and executive producer at the controls, and Sasha, RoadWorthy Drive's very own social media diva, holding it down on mic 2. Howdy, folks.
Hello.
Oh, Lord, really?
I don't know what to think about that introduction.
Yeah, I don't really know that we keep it on an even keel.
Did you hear the part of even in spite of yourselves?
I mean,
Well, that's the part I'm having problems with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am the professional producer here.
Mm-hmm.
right. Yes.
I have a standard that I must maintain.
And I'm the talent.
And I am the professional antic instigator.
That's not even a thing, is it?
I'm pretty sure it's a thing. I made
if
it.
I remember correctly, it was in your job description that you actually wrote.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I don't understand how the suits approve that.
It wasn't the suit's issue.
Ah. Oh, my. Well, before I continue, just so you know, we always want to hear from you, our faithful listeners. Call or text me to the RoadWorthy Drive line. That's 872-222-9793. Or email me. That's ken@roadworthydrive.com. No matter which way you choose, you'll be able to connect with us here in studio. And, yeah, despite our antics, we'd love to hear from you. Let's talk a little bit about what I got going on in the parts bin right now.
What did you find this week that came across your desk?
The financing is in your favor.
Yeah, I can vouch from that from way back in November.
Yeah. Well, let me read this to you. With the auto sales figures down from last year, it appears the market is tilting in favor of the consumer. This is a recent report by Wallet Hub. We've talked about them before.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some of their key findings. Interest rates for new cars are at the lowest point in the past 3 years, with the average car loan charging some 14% less than average.
First off, what would be the average amount that they would be charging right now?
Well, my guess is probably in the between 4 to 5% range.
Okay, so if it's down 14%, that's
You're
gonna
probably in the
be,
3.5% range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good time to borrow money.
Yes, it is.
Particularly if you've got excellent credit, you get even a bigger benefit because the average interest rate for people with excellent credit is down 10% since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as always, if you're like a lot of us that have what we would call fair credit, and for the purposes of this conversation, we're really talking about a credit score of less than 620.
Now you're saying 620 and up would be considered a fair credit score?
Would be better, but below 620 is not good.
Okay.
And you really need to get above 700 to be considered good. So,
Okay,
but
'cause
basically, yeah, if you're below 620, you're fair.
a lot of this has changed since 2008, really.
Yes, in some ways, but we're also returning to easy credit. Back then, credit got hardcore, and it was very tough to get in the depths of the recession. But
You are right.
But let me break this down for you. If now people with fair credit, if you got less than 620, this is a fact that blew my mind. You will end up spending 5 times more to finance a vehicle than somebody with excellent credit. Let me give an example. If you're paying about 3.5% with excellent credit, you're probably somewhere near 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be about 5 times. And that's quite a bit of money over 5 years.
Yes,
that
it
you'd be
is.
paying more. But a little note from Ken, if you find yourself in this situation, don't panic. One of the things that I advise and I encourage people to do, you may not know, and a lot of people don't realize, that federal law requires the 3 credit agencies to allow you a copy for nothing of your credit report once a year.
That is correct. However, you will pay for the credit score.
Not necessarily. You need to get your credit report in order to figure out what your score is, and here's the reason. How do I put this gently?
Just put it.
The credit report is often full of either old or inaccurate information that should be purged. By purging this and contesting it, because every entry you have to have a way to contact that person or that organization is a phone number.
Mm-hmm.
That very often purging inaccurate and old stuff from your record would improve your credit score.
I thought that stuff was supposed to drop off every 7 years.
It's supposed to, but it doesn't always, and you need to be vigilant. So people who maybe 10 years ago didn't have good credit, but have not checked and have done things to improve their credit, may actually have better credit than they think, or may have the opportunity to clean up their credit score. One of the things, people with a similar name, different middle initial, and they're putting it on your credit report, or credit information from your kids,
Okay.
they're putting on yours.
I can answer this one.
Yeah.
They put stuff on my credit report that belongs to my dad because I'm a junior and he's a senior, and vice versa. And we've had to go straighten that out. But I thought I would go to like Equifax, just using them as an example, to get that stuff taken off that's been over 7 years old.
Here's the challenge. That's not enough. There are 3 credit agencies.
So I have to talk to the other 2.
Yeah. And really, the 2 you really want to talk to is
Equifax?
Experian. No. Is Experian and TransUnion. Equifax was the ones that got caught in that breach.
Well, I know that they got caught in the breach, but I was absolutely told TransUnion, nobody trusts TransUnion anymore.
But most dealers, most car people use Experian. So if you're going to go to one of them, start there.
Okay.
And then it really depends, because sometimes they take a average of the 3, average of the 2. They'll look at more than just one very often. So the best bet, really go to all 3 and find out. But typically, Experian is a little lower. TransUnion's a little higher. Excuse me. But yeah, if you're going to start with Experian
Okay.
and then work your way. Because that alone, one, you might find that your credit score is actually higher than you thought. Two, you might be able to find some things on there that should be taken off that will raise your credit score.
Mm-hmm.
And that just happened with a bunch of medical information last year. The Consumer Financial, I forget the name. Oh, boy.
But it's a federal agency.
It's a federal agency that looks out for consumer finance.
Right.
And they just pushed some things through that took a lot of information off of people's credit reports as it relates to medical expenses.
Okay.
And in some cases, when we reported it here, pushed up some scores as much as 40 points. So, food for thought on that. Really quick, remember we talked about Mitsubishi in the past? And the fact that the Nissan and Renault people bought Control.
Right.
Sales are up. Sales are up. And it's thanks to them, they're still in business. And their top markets, honestly, are China and the USA. And worldwide, last year, of the 10.6 million vehicles that Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi sold 1 million vehicles.
Now that I would have had any
around
idea
the
with.
around the world.
Because at least 2 years ago, you and I were talking about the fact on this show that we thought they were done.
If Nissan and Renault had not invested in them and moved their people over there, they would have been done. For some scandals there in Japan, some quality issues around, yeah, they saved them. And it looks like they're going to be the small car part of that relationship. But I thought I'd throw that out there that they're on the mend. Coming up next, electric cars and infrastructure. You are listening to RoadWorthy Drive.
Want more than your share of the road? Be sure to check out RoadWorthy Drive on Facebook.
Fun times. Let's see, let me get this reset. 9 minutes here. Every now and then, it does get quiet in studio.
What?
We don't rant all the time,
No.
just sometimes.
No, but the one thing we haven't done yet is throw things.
Yeah, that's not wise, and our executive producer frowns on us throwing things in studio.
Especially Mike's.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of mic drop, it's gotten so bad now that even the Tom Bodette commercial for Motel 6 has a mic drop in it.
What?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
I heard that on the way in today.
It's like they know that it bothers you, so like everybody's doing it,
They're
Well-
torturing poor Jack.
right?
No, it's not just me. It's every single person that ever handles mixing stuff and knows how expensive these microphones really, really are getting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but the price of them have gone down. Well, you're right. They're a whole lot better than they were 10, 15 years ago. However, as the technology keeps moving, it's like anything else. The price will go down. However, that is somebody else's piece of equipment you're damaging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's not theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
While we're waiting,
I'm ready.
If you have not put your 2 cents worth into our poll on our Facebook page, I'm calling on all the Ram owners. Come on out.
Which we
And-
know
and-
that you have spoken because the
No.
Ram ripped off the Chevy.
No,
look.
they didn't. We're talking about the redesign for 2019, the Chevy Silverado redesign, the Ram 1500 redesign. It is the opinion of some people in studio who shall remain nameless, Sasha
That would be me.
And me.
and Jack, that they feel that the design that Ram ripped off the design from Chevrolet.
No, hang on. Here's what I started the whole thing with.
Mm-hmm.
They ripped off the last design of the Silverado, not
Yep.
the new one,
Yep.
the older one.
Mm-hmm.
And that when you look at it, and I had somebody that owns a Ram say to me the other day, the dang thing now looks like a Chevy. I said, you're right, it does.
But here's the thing. Sasha's poll shows the 2019 Silverado versus the 2019 Ram.
I decided to go new for new.
Okay.
And
'Cause
all
I
I'm
still
saying
think that
is
it represents
Ram, people, Ram.
and Ram people.
You know, Mopar.
It
And
don't-
you know, and you,
Mopar or no car. Y'all come on out
exactly.
and vote.
and you know what?
Just saying.
I want to see the boy put his money where his mouth is.
What?
I want to see him go buy a Ram.
I don't even own a truck.
Well, technically, yes, you do. However, it's on its last leg.
It is, but it's a van, though.
Van, truck, same thing.
No. No, it isn't.
I won't buy a Ram.
Well, that's just you.
I
Not a
won't.
new one.
That's just you.
I will not. I have not bought a Chrysler Dodge vehicle in probably 23 years.
Haters.
No, it's not. No, it's not hate.
Haters.
Mm.
I had a 1994 Dodge Intrepid.
Mhm.
Dropped the first transmission at 22,000.
Wow.
Dropped the second one at 27,000, and it cost me $1,000 to get out of the car.
Wow.
I would have had a little talk with the boys in Auburn Hills.
I know that's right.
Well,
It
but
would not have been a pleasant talk, but would have been a talk. I've been a Mopar owner, oh my goodness, 4 years. Not currently, but have been 4 years. And typically had good experiences with them.
see, and then a couple years later, I went to go drive one of the. I think it was like 97 or 98. I went
Love
and
the
went and
98.
drove one of the Dodge Ram pickups because I
Yeah.
was seriously at that time wanting a truck.
Mm.
And I drove this transmission with a gal that at the time I was dating, and that transmission was horrible. And the salesman was with me, and when my girlfriend at the time says, "What the hell is wrong with this transmission?" I'm like, "That's it. We're done. Sorry, no sale for you."
Kokomo, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, are we ready?
I'm ready anytime you are.
9 minutes. Second segment. You have the.
I have the next one.
You have the calm.
We have the technology.
We can rebuild him. Okay.
We can make him faster, stronger, better than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ready.
And we hope you all caught that reference. Here we go.
I did.
If you were an international scout, you could show the whole world where to get off. If you were an international scout, you'd have a big V8 engine and leave the other guys in your dust. You'd be a going son of a gun. You'd have your own special automatic transmission. And with that international frame and suspension going for you, too, everyone will admire your build. If you were an international scout, you'd have the four-wheel drive to go wherever you please, to the top of the world if you want to.
Ooh, you handsome devil, you.
If you think the International Scout has all the fun, you're right. You'll find that out when you drive a Scout yourself. You'll see.
As they used to say, anything else is just a car.
And the look on Sasha's face was priceless.
Absolutely. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is RoadWorthy Drive, and I'm Ken Chester. Before I get to the subject at hand, I want to take a moment to clarify several terms that no doubt you have heard bandied about in the normal discourse, with blurred definitions for sure. And we're all about full disclosure and the right information. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine that people get an understanding of the terms. So rather than just throw terms at you, occasionally we like to explain the terms we're using so you would have a better understanding of what we're talking about. So the terms I want to share with you and explain for a moment before we continue are connected, electric, autonomous, and I'm throwing in a fourth one, mobility. Now, we don't talk a lot about the connected car here, but chances are if you own a car that's 7 years old or newer, you're driving a connected car, minivan, crossover, SUV, truck. Yeah, you're driving one. Now, what does that mean? It means a vehicle that has an automotive device that connects to other devices within the vehicle, networks or services or networks, services, or devices outside the car, including other cars, home, office, or infrastructure, and internet access is usually connected to a local area network. And now you literally can talk to Alexa, either from your vehicle to your home or from your home to your vehicle. So this is kind of the next range. But chances are, if you own a new vehicle or a vehicle that's 7 years old or newer, it's connected in some way. An electric car. Now, we're a little bit guilty of this, where we almost talk about electric cars and autonomous cars almost interchangeably, and while one will lead into the other, they are not. There are electric cars on the road, but there are different types. There's the battery electric, which has batteries on board that are used to turn an electric motor with no gasoline engine at all. Some of these battery electrics are rechargeable. You can, what they call a plug-in electric. You literally charge it into an electric socket at night to recharge the battery. There are others that use hydrogen in what they call a fuel cell. And the hydrogen uses the fuel cell to generate the electricity required to turn the electric motor. It's a little more complicated, but that's what that's about, basically. At the end of the day, you're turning an electric motor. So you've got that going on. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about the autonomous car? Well, let's call it by its other terms. You've heard autonomous, self-driving, and driverless car. These are all the same, talking about the same type of vehicle. This is a vehicle that has the technology to operate without a human driver or a human interaction or control at all. It is completely its ability to drive itself, whether a human is in the vehicle or not even. It's also called, in the transportation world, what they call a level 4 autonomous vehicle. You'll hear that. That is the top of the realm in terms of being fully autonomous. You'll hear the words level 4. Now, vehicles that are not fully autonomous, you might hear level 1, 2, 3, have some of the features. You may hear the word semi-autonomous, and you may also hear the word highly automated vehicles. It is conditional. It means that these vehicles have the ability to act on their own under certain situations, but are not fully autonomous. They still require some human interaction at some point. So I wanted to clear the air on those right quick, and I'm saving the best for last. It's a term that I can't explain enough or often enough, and that's mobility. This term's evolved in recent years. It used to mean transportation devices and support to help the physically challenged, and that's it. But the term now encompasses the complete transportation world, from bicycles to public transit, virtual takeoff and landing vehicles even, and autonomous vehicles, any kind of way you can get from point A to point B. It's called the world of mobility. Ford, Toyota, GM are now trying to be mobility companies as opposed to car and truck companies. You're going to want to remember that term because you're going to hear a lot more of it as things continue to evolve. Now, having said all of that, there has been plenty of discussion amongst the RoadWorthy Drive crew over the last few years concerning the need, development, and support of an electric charging infrastructure to support the growing number of electric vehicles that are projected to hit the streets in the coming years. I've always contended, if you build it, they'll come. The infrastructure will get built. And I wanted to look at a little bit of what's going on now. Let me start with just one project going on right now, and I want to make the point that not all of this is going on in just California. This project is going on in the New England and Mid-Atlantic states.
Okay.
And what they're talking about is looking at developing a project in 11 states, infrastructure planning for what they call an EV corridor analysis to actually add to infrastructure where necessary and the type of infrastructure they need to add to support the charging of electric vehicles.
Okay, let's back this up for a second.
Back this train up.
There are two, in my mind, There are two different definitions of infrastructure right now.
Okay.
What I'm going to call the charging stations in a parking lot is infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have the grid infrastructure.
Okay. Let's pull this apart for a minute.
Okay.
We're talking about electric charging infrastructure at this point,
Okay.
as opposed to the electric utility power generation and delivery structure,
Okay.
which they need to go hand in hand. What we're talking about here is points where an individual who owns an electric car can pull in and be recharged. But there are different charging speeds. So they're even looking at places where you can get a quick charge, which may give you 30, 40, 50% of your charge in maybe 15, 20 minutes. Places where there's a full charge, where over a period of time you can get completely recharged. And they're looking at this study, basically interstates from Maryland to Maine and all the states in between. Here's a fun fact. The leading company in this space is called ChargePoint. They have over 46,000 points. When we come back, the truth about lithium. RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester is heard on the RoadWorthy Drive Radio Network.
RoadWorthy Drive. Like us on Facebook.
You have that look on your face, Sasha.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about the wireless charging.
Didn't get there.
We
just ran out of time.
Well, and I knew that we were going to run out of time in that segment.
Mm-hmm.
The wireless charging is going to be the game changer for electric vehicles.
It is.
That's why I kept my mouth shut, because I was hoping that you would get there.
But here it is. Where we're at right now, I think we're probably the visionaries. We see where it's going.
Right.
But I'm not seeing any solid retail projects yet.
No.
There are not any that I've seen.
Well, what was the one that just hit the FCC where it was like late last year, where they...
That was for wireless charging within 3 feet, basically turning electricity into radio waves to charge a device up to 3 feet away.
Right.
Now, I think we're talking about small devices. They weren't really specific in the type of device and the length of charge.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not hard to imagine if you've got that it's only a matter of time till somebody figures out a way to scale that up.
Because now you're not talking, and this is what I instantly thought of. This is what I instantly thought of was when you have a parking garage and you're able to charge you're able to charge your electric vehicle by wirelessly, maybe a hub that is, centralized, like right there in the middle. So that way all the cars, because it's going to have a circumference of, whatever. And so it charges the vehicles that are in there. And that would be good for like maybe in the age of mobility, these might be autonomous cars that are going, that's where they go until they're needed.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're an owner of an electric vehicle, you can park your car there while you are not using it.
Well, the applications for this are huge. It could change your personal garage.
Yeah.
You don't need a plug.
No.
You got a hub. The hub's plugged in, and maybe you've got two electric cars in the garage. You can charge them both.
Yeah. Because I wonder if it's going to tether the way that, and I know not the same thing, but the way a Bluetooth would tether.
I don't know. I mean,
do you know what I'm saying? Like your computer can handle, 7 or 8 Bluetooth devices at one time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had like one hub that would be your central charging station,
Mm-hmm.
depending on, obviously, when they actually get this done up, you're going to have different sizes of a hub, depending on your needs. If you don't have an electric vehicle, then you wouldn't need necessarily a hub that would generate that kind of power wirelessly. But you could have one that charged everything in your house, kind of like the way that your Wi-Fi, your router, attaches to all your devices.
Imagine the cost reduction if I can recharge through the air.
Yeah.
And I don't have to plug it in.
Yep.
Then I've just made the cost of the infrastructure less.
Yep.
I've also given an opportunity to make it applicable to more vehicles or more devices, we're going to have to keep an eye on this.
And garner your copyrights for the plugs. You know what I'm saying? Because the charging station themselves,
the charging station becomes moot. If I'm wireless, then just the same way now that you can recharge your phone in a car by just putting
it on the slat.
Yeah.
Slate.
And that requires physical contact.
Yes.
Now this is a patent that does not.
And see, I never got behind that technology where you're just putting your phone down on something like that little, and it's normally like a different textural in a car.
Inductive.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you have to have a certain case for that? Can your phone be in a case and still charge?
I don't think so.
I've got my cell phone.
You've got an Otter case. Yes.
Okay, I've got an OtterBox.
OtterBox, yes.
I set this down on my charging stand.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
No, but hang on.
Got it.
It's kind of the same thing.
Okay, all right.
I set it down, and it charges. I don't plug this thing in.
So it doesn't have like a little male end that plugs into the female end at the bottom?
No, it does, but that's to go from the outlet to the device.
Okay, but if you set it on this little charging stand.
If I set it on the charger, and I have to,
in the OtterBox.
Yeah, in this OtterBox.
Okay.
I can charge it all day long. But one of the points I want to make, and we'll get going here. This is where my concern is, and this is kind of where I feel like I have an argument with all of this technology. The grid infrastructure, the power generation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They have been talking for years. Is one situation, any kind of situation away. Show me.
Third segment, Jack.
Hold
that thought.
Anyway.
Was like he got it.
Anyway, here's my thought.
Right.
We're going to add at some point 250 million vehicles of some sort.
No.
Hang on, let me finish.
Can I finish?
Yeah, can I finish? Can I finish?
No, but go ahead.
Plus the fact we're building, in this town we live in, there is so much construction going on right now that at some point in time, I think you're going to hit a saturation point where they're not going to have the ability to generate enough power to power everything.
Yeah, I think
I disagree.
Yeah, so
Two reasons, and we're going to talk about cybersecurity in the last segment for sure, so we'll come full cycle about your grid concerns.
Okay.
However, remember what's also happening at the same time of the adoption of the electric car is the adoption of the autonomous car. We talked here that basically the numbers say that we will reduce the number of personally owned vehicles by 2/3. So if that is indeed true, then you're going to go from 250 million vehicles to roughly 66 million.
Okay, but then you've got other vehicles too.
Such as?
I'll just use these as examples. Semis.
Autonomous.
Yeah, they're autonomous.
Fewer.
FedEx vehicles, UPS vehicles.
Fewer.
Yeah, but they're going to be fewer. They're not going to need the huge fleets.
But the thing is,
and we're also,
I would like to know how you think there's going to be fewer of them when you still have what I'm going to say is weight regulations that are different in every state, which means you can only haul so much on the back of a
your
semi.
electric vehicle is lighter than your gasoline.
No.
Is it not?
No.
I thought it was.
Batteries.
Never mind.
Okay, so like I said, that's where my argument.
But hold on now. What you're missing, and we talked about this, as these vehicles go autonomous and can run 24/7, you're going to get a vehicle that may only be on the road 10 hours out of every 24, even if it's on the road 20 out of every 24. We've just doubled the ability of that vehicle to haul, which means it's going to be a lot more efficient and you won't need as many.
And as they incorporate more drones, you're not going to need that many.
And again, it's an issue of mobility. Here we go. there's a lot of things going. You can't think straight line. There's so much happening.
And I don't think that our dependency on electricity and the way that you're thinking about it in like the grid persona is going to be as great, because we're going to go after renewable energy
but
sources.
hold the grid thought for the last segment.
Okay,
I'm telling you.
Okay, are we ready?
We're almost ready. I need to make this final point.
Because otherwise it's painful to him.
I know.
It is. But you know what? Final thought. We've talked about mobility, and we've all agreed that it's not going to be all or nothing. There will be, the internal combustion engine is going to be around for at least another 15, 20 years. There's going to be situations where electric is not practical on the heavy end, that it's going to still require a diesel engine for a while. So I don't think what you're seeing is an all or nothing game. They felt that autonomous electric vehicles are good in last mile situations. Autonomous vehicles may have some applications over the road, but those still may very much be diesel powered or gasoline powered. We'll have to see. It's going to be the economics of the thing, because they're looking at cost per mile. That's what an over the road trucker looks at. Cost per mile makes or breaks him. You eliminate the driver, you save some money. Now you got to deal with the fuel. Until the premise of using some other power source other than diesel fuel or gasoline is equal or lower in cost, those will still be for a while. Do remember this. For the last 70 years, the railroad industry has used what we would consider hybrids, which were diesel electrics, to haul heavy stuff for years, and that model put the steam engines out of business, but nothing has put them out of business yet. And it's been almost 70, 80 years since the first ones made its way on the railroad track. Food for thought. Okay, 9 minutes, third segment.
But
9
does that
minutes,
have
third
to be
segment.
the last thought? I mean, can we have a discussion about why
Not now.
Daffy Duck never gets the attention that Bugs Bunny does?
You need to let that go. You ready, Jack?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Who knows?
Here we go.
Welcome to the downhill side of this hour of RoadWorthy Drive. So glad you could be with us. I'm Ken Chester. For those of you who may not know, we have a website. Yep, roadworthydrive.com is the place to listen to past shows, watch videos of our behind-the-scenes antics in studio as we produce the show, and more. The website's also a great place to discover where we are in the world of social media. Sasha's our social media diva who keeps things light and lively during the week between shows and occasionally between breaks. See how she keeps the social in our social media.
Would you call our discussions for our folks watching us live, would you consider that a discussion or a brawl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just checking.
You know, it depends on your point of view.
There you go.
Now, with that out of the way, I want to talk about raw materials. When we think about electric vehicles, we often don't realize that the lithium of the lightweight lithium-ion batteries that are the core of the power storage in the average battery electric is a mineral that is mined. And this is where things get interesting. Why Sasha and the country of Chile have more in common than you think.
Okay, I'll bite. How is that possible?
Well, let me take you back a little bit.
Okay.
Lithium, often called white petroleum, believe it or not, and was discovered 200 years ago. And it was in metal form. Now, the dominance, the beautiful part about lithium, it's lighter than lead, holds more percentage of it in charge. You can charge a higher percent than lead. It's rechargeable. It's lightweight and relatively inexpensive. And it's become the energy storage technology of choice for electric vehicles, power grids, and really there's really nothing else out there when you're looking at cost, availability, and price that it can rival. Now, for me to wander off into the weeds a little bit, Toyota and Dyson, the folks, the vacuum cleaner folks,
Yes.
are looking at, and a few others, are looking at developing what they call a solid state battery using lithium. Because lithium liquid has had problems.
Okay.
That we've heard about, it, particularly if you've got like a hover round or a cell phone or
Right, or the notes that were
catching
banned
fire.
from.
Oh, yeah.
In any case, they wanted to go to a solid state, solid material, because it's easier, it's more stable. But that technology, unfortunately, is anywhere from 5 to 10 years away of being commercially viable. So what they're trying to do in the meanwhile, with all this increase, they're looking for more sources of lithium.
And my guess is they found it someplace in the country called Chile.
Yeah, in fact, Chile has the most mineable, available, plentiful. There are other places in South America that do, but there's one company in Chile, their mines. And guess who's talking to them?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, because he's my boy.
They're looking at, and BMW is also rushing to lock down supplies. The big deal is that lithium, obviously being a major part of where we're going with electric vehicles, you need a supply.
Yep.
Elon Musk needs a big supply because of the Model 3. Apparently, the way that this stuff is mined, it's in some brine that you basically dry, compact to produce. And they're looking at, Tesla's even considering building a factory to process the stuff so they can ship it to their gigafactory in Nevada and have an uninterrupted supply of lithium. The question is, what does that do for everybody else?
Basically, is going to stifle them from being able to get material.
Could. The issue is another country that also has supplies of lithium.
And that would be?
China.
Aha.
Oh.
Argentina. And a few other countries in South America. It seems that South America seems to be ground zero for the availability of lithium.
I think that we should plan a tour down there.
You know. Even Toyota has arranged a multi-million-dollar deal for a 15% stake in a company, an Australian company, that produces lithium in Argentina. And the other fella that's down there looking for supplies is Sir James Dyson, your British inventor guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, you're saying that they're looking at companies that are already established. Are you aware of any automotive companies that have bought perhaps a company that is actually currently mining lithium?
No.
Okay.
Right now, it seems that it's better to just buy the supplies rather than because you're looking at investment, government situations, management, and a lot of money.
I'm just curious.
Even this solid state stuff we talked about,
right?
Toyota's at the forefront of that, and it's still 8 to 10 years. Here's another component that you need in making for electric cars: cobalt. And there's one country in the world that dominates cobalt production.
And that would be?
The Democratic Republic of Congo.
Oh.
Now we got another little problem. And I'm going to read it. The Democratic Republic of Congo dominates global cobalt production, raising concerns for the security of supply and about environmental and social problems, including the use of child labor.
Oh, brother.
Yep.
The companies like Samsung are looking to recover cobalt from old mobile phone batteries, and even looking at a way to even replace cobalt in the creation of these batteries. So there's some of that going on. Now, here is another related problem: the decline of OPEC.
How is that a problem?
Well, if electric vehicle demand goes up, oil demand goes down.
Right.
Right now, but if things stay on track by next year, the United States of America will become the #1 producer of crude oil in the world, which is ironic considering our rush to electric cars.
Yeah, we're a little late to the party.
I'll say it again. By next year, well, I'll back up. In the last 3 months, the industry has reported growth due to coming back online of our shale oil fields. An unprecedented growth per day in production in the United States of 846,000 barrels of crude a day increase in the last 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. How ironic that even as we go to electric, we now are awash in crude. When even 15 years ago we were worried about foreign impact. Now the new chase is lithium, not crude oil. Imagine that.
Are you thinking OPEC is going to go try to find it?
OPEC has got their own problems in terms of you got all this oil.
And what do you do with it?
What do you do with it? Saudi Arabia is even diversifying away from oil.
Yep.
So when I return, what Jack and Sasha has been waiting for, the conversation about the power grid, cybersecurity, and you. This is RoadWorthy Drive.
Go to RoadWorthyDrive.com to check out Ken's blog, listen to past shows, and the times when you can see the show on Facebook Live.
You're on.
Okay, well, we are going to take a break, and we're probably going to call it right here. We might be back for the last piece, but we got to stop. We got to leave the studio for a moment. And if you're willing to hang around, give us about 15, 20 minutes, and we'll come back with the last segment. And if not, we'll catch you next time. Thanks.